Hi everyone, in today's video I thought we would just have a very quick look at the new update for the Loklik Studio software. So this is a free piece of software that you get with your Loklik cutting machine. You download it and you install it onto your computer. It works on Mac and it works on Windows. I was told that there was an update, so I logged into my Loklik software, and if you're in a version before 2.0, normally to check if there's an update, you would go up to the help and it would have been in here, check for updates. Okay, so I've actually updated mine. So the way you look for updates going forward, once you've got the 2.0, is you come over to the top right hand corner, you'll see a little icon. I think it's a cat from memory. I've changed mine to my icon that I use across my social media. There's a little arrow that you click, and in here it tells you what version you're on, and I'm guessing it will probably tell you from here if there are any updates in the future. So if I just click on version, it tells me now that I'm on version 2.0.0, and it says what's changed. Okay, so it says new interface for seamless navigation. Password can now be remembered for next login, which is great, because before, if you've used the software, you used to, log into your software using, your Loklik icon if it's on your desktop or however you logged in, and you used to have to put in your email and password every time. So this now saves it so you don't have to do that. It says it supports files now up to 5 megabytes. I honestly can't remember what it was before. It probably might tell you somewhere in here. It says more text editing tools, including alignment, word and line spacing, and more. It says that you can now save your files in SVG, PNG or JPEG. And it says it's more user-friendly guidelines and assistance and abundant images with refined filtering options. So I'm guessing that's the free images they give you in the library, a bit like when you use Canvas Workspace, you've got all those images that you can use that are pre-made. As I say, when I was in my previous version, I went up to help, I went to check for updates, and this is what I saw. So I've just taken some screenshots as I was doing it. So it said that the version I was using was 1.9.7. It says version 2.0.0 quick start video, and then it just says a few other things: optimized registration process with new graphic verification procedure and bug fixes. So I clicked on update. Then it brought me to this window, and it says welcome to Loklik Idea Studio 2.0, and it tells you that there's a new version available, and it says download. So I did that. Then I got this, which is the download window, and you choose which version you use. So I use a Mac, so I chose download here. Then I just get, on a Mac, you get this. So basically on a Mac, all you do is you grab the icon and you drag it into this applications folder as it's showing here with the arrow. And then you get the option to keep both, stop the change altogether, or replace. Now I clicked replace, but I did still end up with both versions. So for me, I then went into my applications folder and I deleted the old version. Can't remember whether it tells you to restart your computer, but I restarted my computer anyway, because that's kind of what I tend to do whenever I install any kind of application. I always restart my computer. Then it brought me to the welcome page. I put my email in and my password, and it brought me to this page. Now, if I close down this page and come out of Loklik and then go back into it, it will automatically log me back in. So that's an improvement. Straight from the offset, I would say I don't like this. I don't like this canvas. I can't see my 12 by 12 map. Mine seems to open at 50%. I can't remember whether it did that the first time or not. I seem to think it did. But if I shrink this down to 25%, which is the lowest it will go, you can see 0 in the corner, and then it's in 4-inch increments. If I click this plus and go up to 100%, I can see it's 0 in the corner, going all the way along. There's my 12 inches, which is what I would be used to be seeing, a 12-inch mat, but then it just keeps on going. So I don't like that. I like to be able to see my 12 by 12-inch mat, or at least have the facility somewhere, maybe in the settings, where you can change it to 12 by 24 if you were using, you know, say a bigger mat, which I can't remember if there is a 12 by 24 mat available for the Loklik. It might only be 12 by 12. Whatever the case may be, I don't like this grid, you know, going on infinitely. I want to be able to see a 12 by 12 mat. It gives you, I personally think, it gives you more of an idea of scale when you're working with things. So that's the first thing I don't like. The other thing I do like, and again, I've got to go up to the settings, so come to the top right-hand corner where you'll see, you know, an icon of the standard Loklik icon, unless you change it. Click on the downward facing arrow, go to settings, and here now you can set your language. And I changed mine. This was in millimeters, and I changed it to inches because I prefer to work in inches, and I click done. And every time I close this program down now and I reopen it, it automatically stays in inches. If you remember before, it used to default to millimeters, and you used to have to right click on where it says millimeters in like the very top left hand corner of your mat and change it to inches. So that's something I do like, that it does remember your settings, but I honestly do hope that Loklik will change this so we can just see our 12 by 12 mat. Going back to the settings, there's feedback here. So if there's anything you don't like, if you click on the feedback and errors and you input your email, you can you know, let them know whether it's a design function, a cutting function, or something else, and you can type in here. So if you're like me and you want to see us back to having a 12 by 12 mat version, then everybody please put your requests in here and submit them. Now I found I put my email in here and it said that my email wasn't the right email, and it definitely was, because it's the one that I use all the time. So I had to put a different email, one of my other email addresses, in here to make this work. So I've told you it shows you the version, it tells you about Loklik Studio, it tells you the terms of use, you've got the feedback and errors, and you've got the settings. And the settings are just very minimal at the moment. As I say, you can change your language and you change your units. Okay, so once you've got this installed, it does look a little bit different. I feel it looks a little bit cleaner, but I also feel that they've not really done very much. So the layers panel comes up on the side and you'll see this little box with an arrow. If you click on it, it just takes the layers panel out of your way. If I just come along the top here, you've got new, save, undo, redo, select, select all, edit, point. A lot of these only light up when something's going on your page. You've got your size in width and height that you can lock and unlock, but then there are things that are hidden behind this big blue make it sign. So if you hover over this top section, you'll see this very thin little grey bar, and if you move it along, you then can get access to your rotate icons, and you can get access to your X and Y positioning. So like if you're making boxes or bags or something specific that you want placed in a specific area on the mat, you can use your X and Y positioning. So if you've watched any of my previous scan and cut videos, I've done lots of things on using X and Y positioning, okay? So if we come to pattern, we're still very restricted in patterns. We've got a square, we've got a circle, we've got this, is it a pentagon? And then we've got the free form shape. So if I click on the square, nothing happens. So in Canvas Workspace, normally when you click on a shape, it drops onto your mat, or you can drag and drop. So if I go back to pattern and drag the square, it's not happening. And this did confuse me at first, so it may confuse you. Once you've got it selected, basically what you then do is you click and drag on your mat. So you select your shape and then you click and drag on your mat to draw that shape. You can see here it's not a perfect square. So if I just left click on it to select it and delete and go back to pattern, choose the same shape, and I need to hold my up arrow key down on my Mac keyboard, which I think is possibly your shift key. If you hold your shift key down and then left click and drag and let go, you'll see now it's a perfect square. And that's the same with all the shapes. If I click the circle, hold the shift key down and drag it out, I get a perfect circle. If I go back and click the circle and don't press the shift, I can make it an oval or any shape I want. So I'll get rid of that for now. So I'm just going to bring these two shapes near together. Now again, by default, they seem to come in with a fill. And you can see here it says fill or contour. So I've got the circle selected. If I choose contour, it shows me the outline, but it outlines both. So you can't have one outlined and one filled by default, by the look of it. It's all or nothing. So I'm going to just select them both and I'm going to fill them both with colour. But I'm going to select the circle, then I'm going to come to the fill dot that's next to it, click on it, and I'm just going to fill the circle with blue. So I can fill the colours independently, but I can't have one fill and one as an outline like you can do in Canvas Workspace. So now I'm just going to overlap the circle onto the rectangle, onto the square, select both, and then you get other features that come up for you. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to combine. And I'm just going to go through this fairly quickly because, as I say, I think I've done videos about the Loklik features in a previous video. I've got a Loklik playlist, so if you're new to this, go back and have a look. And one thing I forgot to say right at the beginning, I'm recording this video in July 2024. So if you're watching this at a later date, just be mindful that this is how this software looks and is working in July 2024. You know, things may change. They do update the software. You know, it was fairly frequently in the beginning. I think the software has become a bit more stable, but I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done with it. So I've got the two shapes selected. The first thing I'm going to do is unite. That basically is weld. If I take the fill out, you'll see it's welded it together. Okay. So if I just select it and hit undo and go back to fill, select them both, come back to combine, subtract takes the circle away. I'm just going to undo that. Select both, unite at overlap. So that basically has taken anything away where the two shapes overlapped. So I'm going to select them both again. Subtract at overlap. So that's just cut that piece out. Okay, so I'm going to undo, select both, and slice. Now slice will slice one through the other, but as you can see, there's a very faint line here. So if I left click anywhere on the page to deselect, I can now drag these slices away. So let's go back to undo. So I'm back to my circle and my rectangle. So that's the first 5 options under combine. You'll also see that there's a subtract at crossover and a split. These are greyed out. That means because they're not available to use with what is on the mat at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to use those. So I'm going to get rid of those. I'm going to come to the text tool. I'm going to double click on the word text. If you remember, I think this said Loklik before. So now it says text. So I'm going to deselect it. So if I want to resize this, I can size it up here using the width and height. I can unlock the lock to change the width and height independently. I can drag on a corner. If I want to drag this down to make it taller, if I hover over this box in the middle and drag it, it just keeps it the same. So what you have to do is unlock the lock, then you can drag this down and make it taller. Okay, so I've got my word love. So now I'm going to come back to pattern. I'm going to choose the square, but I'm not going to hold my shift key down, and I'm just going to drag out a thin rectangle, and then I'm just going to move it down a little. Okay, I'm going to right click and hit copy, and then I'm going to paste, and I'm going to paste again to give me two more that are the same size, and I'm just going to bring them down out of the way. Let me change this grey to a blue in the hope you can see it better. So now I'm going to select the word love and the blue thin rectangle. I'm going to say align centrally so that they line up together, and then I'm going to come back to combine. Now I'm going to use subtract because that is the one that takes the whole thing away, but you'll see it's all still one shape. It's only got one bounding box around it. When I right click on it, there's no group or ungroup feature. So with it selected, if I come back to combine, this is now where I can start to use the other options. So I'm going to click split. You'll see the bounding box has disappeared. And when I click on these now, these are all individual. So I can now select all the bottom half of the letters, and I can right click, and now I can make them a group. And then I can select the top half of the letters and right click and make them a group. And then I'm just going to drag this down. I can bring in my rectangles. I can position them over. I'm going to drag an imaginary box around everything. I'm going to come up to a line, and I'm going to say center on the horizontal so they all line up together. If I zoom in a bit more, you'll see that my grey rectangles are overlapping my black words. So I'm going to select the top half, come to combine and unite. They've all changed to one colour now, which means they've all welded together. And I'm going to select the bottom half and do the same. So combine and unite. So I've now got a split word. Okay. So that was all relatively straightforward. Doesn't appear to be any bugs, because sometimes the other software could be the other version of the software could be a bit buggy. So that all seems to be okay. So I'm going to get rid of that. So that is something I like. I'm going to come back to the patterns. I'm going to choose a square. I'm going to hold my shift key down to drag out a square. This is where I don't think this is perfect. So I've got a square. I'm going to come to offset. It says corner round, and I must admit I've only had a very quick play with this software before I started to record this video, and I can't see anywhere where we can make this an angular offset, either external or internal. It just says corner round, which doesn't make sense to me if you're working with particularly squares, rectangles, or angular letters. So that's something else that I think needs improvement. But for now, we'll just go with it and you'll see what I mean. Offset distance is in millimetres. So I've changed my mat to inches, but the offset still works in millimetres. So you can either click on the up arrows and take your offset up this way. So if I keep clicking, you'll see the sliders going along. So it's now at a 2 millimetre offset. You can drag the slider along. I'm going to go to 4 millimetre offset, and then you click apply, and that's put an offset around it. I'm going to try and zoom in. So here's my original square and here's my offset. Now I'm going to take the fill out. Okay, so this is my square. I click on it. It's 1.61 by 1.61, and I click on my offset. 1.66 by 1.66. But if you come to edit point, you'll see it's got all these extra nodes, and this doesn't look particularly square to me. It's got extra nodes in the corner, which to me it shouldn't need. If you click on the square, you've got 4 nodes for a square. It's given it an offset. It should be the same. So that's something I don't like, because you've got these extra nodes. Look at this. It's weird. So I'm going to undo that. Let's go back to fill and put that back. In fact, no, let's get rid of that offset and go back to our original 1.6. In fact, let's make this 2. So I'm going to lock the lock and I'm going to change this to 2 and hit enter. So I've now got a 2-inch square. I'm going to come back to offset. I'm going to make the offset 9 millimeters because that's what it's working in, and say apply. Now, can you see it's got this funny angle on the corner. It's not a true square. If you go to edit point, click on this, you'll see you've got all these extra nodes here. And I think that's because in the offset you've got this rounded, which, as I say, just does not make sense to me at all. So I'm going to get rid of the offset, bring the square back, and just zoom out again a bit. So again, if I go back to offset, you can do an internal offset, but it works exactly the same. It's still saying it's going to be rounded. It's still in millimeters. So if I take this to 9, and this time it's an internal offset, so it should go inside and say apply, it puts it behind for a start, which is a pain. So I'm going to make sure I'm selected on this. I'm going to say arrange, bring to front, put it on top, and again I'm going to zoom in. And you can see this just does not look straight at all. If I take the fill out, look, you can see it's kind of starting to bend down. It's rounding. It isn't right. If we're going to have the facility to use an offset, either an external offset or an internal offset, we should be able to choose whether we want angular or rounded. And I can't see anywhere that you can change that. So that's something I don't like. So I'm going to get rid of that. So I'm just going to take the view down 100%. Now I'm going to come to text. So again, I'm going to double click, select the word text and type love. And I'm going to make the height, I was going to say 6 inches. I'm going to have to take the view down to make it 6 inches. Got my word love. I'm going to come to my offset. I'm going to leave it as an external offset. And I'm going to say 9 millimeters just to see how it looks. And then I'm going to say apply. And look, you can see it's doing the same. Even though my word is angular, it's trying to round the corners. So I think this is definitely something in the offset that Loklik need to address. You know, yes, it's sometimes good to have a rounded offset, you know, be it whether it's an external offset or an internal offset. But the majority of text we use and possibly even shapes that we use are angular. So if you're going to give us the offset feature, give it us so that we get angular offsets, because we don't want something that looks like this as an offset with, you know, angled or trying to make rounded corners when we want it to be perfectly angular. So that's something I don't like. I like the fact that we've got the facility and it seems to work without being buggy, but it's not 100%. We need it to give us the option to, as I say, have a rounded offset or an angular offset. While I'm talking about text, I'm going to click on the text icon and you can see it's, you know, it's brought the word text up here. The fonts are now up here on the left. They used to be over here on the right hand side in the previous version. So I like that they're up here. I like that you can see the size, although, you know, it's not in inches. I'm in inches. I would expect that everything kind of follows, and it's not. I like the fact that you've got letter spacing and line spacing, and that, you know, the align left, right, center shows up. There are little things that I like, but there are still things that should be basic things that I don't like. Okay, so this is something else that I don't like. I click on the word for the text here. If you can hear Eddie in the background, he's drinking his water. Again, it highlights to the Loklik fonts. So here's all your Loklik fonts. They may or may not have put more in here. Don't know whether this is the same amount as we had before or whether they've added a few more. Seem to think they may have added some, but I'm not sure. But if I go to system fonts, this should now bring through all the fonts I have installed on my computer. and I can tell you now they are not all here. There are fonts that I use quite frequently in my other business that are not here, and I don't know why. Now I know that I do have some fonts that are installed on my computer that are open type fonts, so OTF rather than TTF, true type fonts. But I know that I've got true type fonts that I use in Canvas Workspace that are not in here. So I don't understand why that's happening. One thing I do like is that you can choose a font. So let's say you go to your fonts or Loklik fonts, and let's just say you like Genevieve. You can click the star and it will add it into your favourites. So like I say, I've got several fonts that I use in Canvas Workspace that I've downloaded from Creative Fabrica that I use, and they're ones that I use a lot. In Loklik, you can highlight them and favourite them, so it saves you going all the way through your system fonts every single time, so I like that. This is your upload button where you can obviously upload, a file from your computer. And then you've got this AI painting, which, I'll leave you to play with. I don't use AI. So I think that kind of just about covers it. There's also this shape feature. Now, when I updated this software to the 2.0 version, I can't remember if it was on the left here or if a box came up and said something about shape. And I clicked on it and it said upgrade. So I just clicked upgrade. It doesn't appear to be charging me to use it. It's just some extra shapes. But the strange thing I find about this is when you use this shape and you click on any of these shapes, they drop directly onto your mat. Whereas when you go to pattern and use the shapes from here, they don't. You've got to drag them out. So that's not consistent. It should work the same, surely. The other thing is, why are they under shapes and then the basic shapes are under pattern? Why aren't they all under the same thing? That's something else I find a bit confusing. So as I say, there are things that I like. I like the way it's kind of now laid out, with your icons and things along the top, rather than they used to be over here, a box kind of popped out like this, and they used to be over here. Obviously these are your layers, which you'd be used to be seeing if you use Canvas Workspace. But there are things that I think still need a lot of improvements. I'll just go over these quickly. So if you go to your library, this is all the shapes that you can use that Loklik are providing. You click on view more and it'll scroll down. You can filter by free and premium. At the moment I've clicked on free and they all seem to be the same. If I untick free and click on premium, nothing's coming up. So whether that's something they're going to add in the future, I don't know. Then you've got My Zone, which is where you save anything you make in Loklik. So like Canvas Workspace, when you save your own files in Canvas Workspace, this is the same. And it dragged the files that I had saved previously in the previous version over for me when I installed this version. And then obviously to get back to your Canvas, you go back to Canvas. So that's just a very quick overview of the new 2.0.0 version of Loklik Studio. Let me know what you think. I've not tried the print and cut. I've just not had time. I will, eventually get round to trying to do a print and cut again. If you've seen any of my previous videos, as I say, they are all in a Loklik playlist. You'll find that I've not had success doing print and cut with my Loklik cutter at all, which is a shame because effectively I wanted to maybe use the Loklik for doing print and cuts just to save me some time, and then to use my scan and cut, for all my other cutting. But I will at some point get round to trying it again and see if I can recalibrate it using the new software and see what happens. But for now, that's just a brief overview of, as I say, the updated version. Leave me your thoughts and comments in the box under the description box here on YouTube. Let me know if you've updated, how you found it. Definitely make use of this feedback and errors box and let Loklik know, any concerns or thoughts you have, because I do believe that they do take notice of them. Anyway, that's today's video. I hope you found it helpful. Please give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. Just hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon. And when I upload or if I go live, you'll get a notification from YouTube. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.